Today we've got a lot of exciting things going on. Welcome to all of you, and I'm sure the room will clear out after some of our excitement is taken care of. But in the meantime, welcome to you all. We're glad you're here. We have a full quorum this afternoon, and we're going to start the meeting as we always do with an invocation followed by the pledges. And this is a very special day because yesterday was Veterans Day. So we have a lot of things that we need to be grateful for in this country. And I'm going to call on Pastor Jean Glazer to lead us in our invocation.
Dear Father, we're always amazed as we think about veterans and the sacrifice that many of them had made by giving their life so that we can have freedom and have democracy and to have rights. We thank you, Father, for the many veterans who have suffered because of their service and continue to deal with the pain and the suffering of their wounds. We thank you, Father, for their courage and bravery. And we thank you that we get to live in a country where we have so many rights. We have the right to believe and to worship you. We have the right to have our voice heard. We thank you so much for the right of government and city government and for these men and women who dedicate their time to help make this place the beautiful place that it is. We pray that you'll continue to give them wisdom and discernment as they go about their duties and responsibilities. We thank you for the staff and all their dedication and their commitment to their jobs and the way that they carry that out. We just thank you, Father, for all the many blessings that you've given to us, and we pray that we'll use them in a way that brings honor and glory to your name. And Father, most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus, that gives us a hope of eternal life. We thank you so much for that powerful resurrection. Through his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a lot of exciting things that we're going to take care of today. The first thing that we want to do is I'd like to ask Dwight King, and if Jamie's here, if you would join us here. We have something. Dwight has just completed a term on the council. He chose not to run for re-election, but we certainly appreciate everything that he's done, and we have a little something we want to give Dwight.
Money? It's money.
You want to find him get that paycheck?
Sure.
So I'd like to say a little bit about Dwight. He's been with us since November 1822. But Dwight has been a really good leader of our. He's asked some very hard questions. He ran and really wanted to do some things for the water system. And he took that to heart, and he made us work hard to answer those questions. In the end, I think we proved him where we needed to be, where we needed to be. It was very good for you to ask us those questions, hard questions, and put us on the right track. And because of that, we have many new water projects that will expand capacity in our community beyond what we were planning to do to ensure that we're in good shape for the future. So that was one of many things. One thing I will say about Dwight is be quick to wit. He was quick with asking questions if he didn't understand. He would make you stop and he would ask the question and make you clarify that, which is really a good testament to wants to understand and he wanted to make sure he was clear on the community and he did. So, for the 2 years that he was here, we got to know him well. We love him. Going to a conference with him, we really enjoyed, his humor and his jokes. A lot of jokes. But I always call him Dr. King, because he's got a date, all that we do. So I like the deep appreciation We honor the council member Dwight, Dr. Dwight King, for 2 years of dedicated service to leadership, commitment, contribution that's made a lasting impact on our community. Thank you for your unwavering dedication.
So, we wanted to give Dwight a plaque, of course, but we were thinking, what could we do for Dwight that would mean something to him? And I'm sure, there are a lot of things you can mention. But one thing that I know Dwight, and it's close to Dwight and Jamie's heart, is a nonprofit organization in Llano that Dwight has brought to the attention of our church. And we were hoping that Keenan Fletcher would be here today. She wasn't able to join us. But the Agape House is an organization. This young lady teaches violin lessons. She teaches children gardening skills. She does a lot of great things for a group of kids in Llano that really appreciate and benefit from her leadership. And so the city is making a donation to the Agape House right in their honor. And she's not here, but
I hope y'all have some time today. First, I just want to thank some folks. I want to thank this community for all the great, kind things that they do and support that we have. Nick support me, comes up here and keep up with him. But I have had a great time. My motto is make it better. And my motto is make it better. That's my goal, is step out every day to make it better for those around me. Sometimes Jamie's a little upset, but I get all that. I've had this partner with me for 37 years. And she's been a trooper and all that. But make it better is what it's all about. And I hope that when I look back on it, I can say this. That's what I look at these folks up here and those folks over there and these folks right here that are working to make this place a better place to live. I can tell you, look, anybody's close to heaven. It's a wonderful place to live and wonderful people. I think all the support that you give me. I think that's good. Oh, one other thing. City staff, you've got unbelievably remarkable and kind to let me come in. Ask questions and try to understand how this place works. You've always been kind to me. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, I think I got paid.
Dwight, you're finally plaque worthy.
All in favor? Yeah. Sit off on my water.
You're finally plaque worthy.
all right.
Yes.
Appreciate all y'all. And I am gonna have to leave in a little bit because I got another meeting. I'm gonna go right on here.
Thank you so much, Dwight and Jamie, both. We really appreciate your contributions to the city and this council. It's really been a pleasure to work with you. So, and since we have an open seat, we didn't have an election because we only had 3 candidates, but we have now 3 new council members to swear in, and Carrie Craig is going to take care of that. So if you all want to join Carrie, all 3 of them up together, right?
Yes.
Carrie? So it's Larry Morgan and Elaine Waddell and Buck Weatherby will be sworn in for another 2 years of service to our community.
First, congratulations on the election. You're going to make it official, so if you'll raise your right hand, read that oath, and have it there.
After every election, we go through it. That's on there. Trying to scare me.
Okay.
Mayor will officially hand you your certificates. Election.
I think they did a pretty good job of doing things in unison.
No.
Just hope they can continue that. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda, we don't usually have balloons, although I think it's a nice touch, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, we don't usually have a member of our community who turns 100 years old. But, and Betty, I won't ask you to stand unless you want to, but Betty J. Stock celebrated her 100th anniversary on November 2nd. Birthday. Birthday. Anniversary. I have a proclamation for you, Betty. It says Betty June Loud Stock was born on November 2nd, 1924 in Lawton, Oklahoma, to Catherine Carter Loud and Wilbur Woodrow Loud. One of three children, Betty graduated from Lawton High School and attended Cameron Junior College and Northwestern University. While in high school, Betty worked at a local radio station and later was employed by Time Incorporated Chicago. She became a hostess with Brandon Airlines for 5 years. And this is in 1925. Betty was blessed to have twin sons, Mark and Michael, and stepdaughters, Barbara and Nance, 4 grandchildren, 8 grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren. And Betty and her husband, Herman, stopped at the Bushy Way in July 1979. After her husband passed away, Betty has continued to live in a home on Sharp Rock since 1984 and has been active in golf, tennis, and bridge. She has always enjoyed entertaining and continues to welcome friends and family in her home for the view of beautiful Lake Elm. What a
With the balloons.
Why don't you, know,
yeah. I'm not gonna be up there by myself. I mean, what an exciting and wonderful life this is. We look forward to the next birthday. Thank you, and I told Betty that I wouldn't make her speak, but if she wanted to say anything, I'd give her an opportunity.
I'm not going to say anything except thank you for being here and a wonderful 100 years.
I'm sure somebody will take your chairs. I think it's kind of cool.
Hey, I heard that. I heard that. She was your favorite. You're in trouble, man.
We have a few extra chairs, sort of special chairs at the front. If you guys would like to sit down, or if the staff, if you guys would like to sit down, you're welcome to sit on the front row. But thank you for giving up your chairs. Appreciate it very much. So moving on through our agenda, the next item on the agenda is an introduction of new city team members. And I'm going to call on Chief Graham. We're so excited. Jason has been trying to get, he's had police officers on his wish list for a long time. So I know you're happy to welcome a new officer.
All right. So I want to introduce you to y'all, Officer Min Tang. And he has 5 years of law enforcement experience. He has a bachelor's in criminal justice with an intermediate peace officer license to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Officer Tang worked with Bertram Police Department for 4 years, and his previous years of service with Flower Bluff, which is down by Corpus Christi. And Tang is fluent in 5 different languages.
Wow.
12 different. Man, you're a fast study. Rosetta Stone, right? That's wonderful. Well, thank you and welcome here.
Welcome.
Thank you too.
Okay, and while Dan's doing that, we're moving on to public comments. And with public comments, if the person who's coming to speak is addressing an item that's on our agenda, we'll wait until we get to that agenda item, and I'll call on you at that time. And actually, in looking at this list, everybody is here to speak to something that's on the agenda. So we'll just move past that at this time and move on to presentations. Item A, this is informational only. And Carrie Pickering always brings us good news. So welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members and other city officials for having me today. She's right. They're happy to see me because they always get money when I come to city council meetings. There's a lot to do today, so I won't get bogged down in the weeds. My name is Carrie Pickering. I'm an attorney with the Linebarger Law Firm. We handle delinquent property tax collection for all the taxing entities in Llano County and have done so for about 30 years. Llano County is my baby. My parents live in Horseshoe Bay. My sister lives in Horseshoe Bay. So I feel like I live in Lampasas, but I feel like I live here. Anyway, so as part of our collection of delinquent property taxes, even though we encourage everybody to pay them before they go delinquent, they don't do it all the time. We do have some stragglers, and quite often we end up filing a lawsuit in district court here in Llano County. The lawsuit seeks foreclosure of the tax liens. It takes about a year for a lawsuit after we file it to work its way through the litigation process. And when the case is ready for trial, we set the case for trial. We take a judgment, and the judgment authorizes the taxing entities to put the property in a public tax sale. Some of y'all remember from past years, we had public tax sales right on the courthouse steps in Llano County, the old-fashioned way. But several years ago, the Llano County Commissioners Court approved that we conduct our tax sales online. I get questions all the time about when are our tax sales. The information is always on the main Llano County website. There's like a tab on the left-hand side. Go down and it says tax sales, and you just click on that. We just had one in July, so I anticipate us having another one probably in the late spring or early summer, so look for that. At a tax sale, we do seek a minimum bid for the sale of a property. I'm going to keep it simple. For example, if we offer a minimum bid of $100, that $100 would include all the delinquent taxes and any court costs that have accrued due to us having to file the lawsuit. So if the minimum bid is $100, we seek that as an initial start. Even though the real estate market has dipped a little bit in the past couple of years, it has not for our tax sales. We always have a lot of competitive bidding, and we end up selling properties for more than the original minimum bid. Lots of competitive bidding. So for example, if that $100 minimum bid property sells for $200, there's an extra $100 out there. That $100 is deposited within the registry of the court. And per the Texas Property Tax Code, that money stays in the registry of the court for up to 2 years. Within that 2-year time frame, former defendants and or lien holders in the lawsuit have the right to petition the court for the distribution of that $100 excess to that party. However, if at the end of the 2-year time frame, no one has petitioned the court for the tax sale excess, then I go back in and petition the court and ask the judge to sign an order distributing the excess proceeds back to the taxing entities. Y'all with me? Okay. So that's what I'm here to do today we had a recent distribution. I'm going to tell y'all who got what. Today, the city of Horseshoe Bay is receiving, it's not a lot, but it's $1,207.61. Earlier this morning in Commissioner's Court, Llano County received $5,432.15. Llano ISD always gets the lion's share. They received $19,319.30. The city of Llano received $1,833, and ESD number 1 got a whopping $80.50.
Well, we'll take it. Thank you,
Yeah,
Carrie.
absolutely. Y'all have any questions?
Just appreciate what you do for us. You have a very patient job to wait for all that to happen.
Well,
But
thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you so much.
we
It's
do what we
always
can.
always
Yeah.
great to see you. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
I wish I
give-
could have said hello to Betty because, she plays bridge with my mother. And my mother talks about her all the time.
And still plays bridge with
Yes.
your mother.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. Jeff, should I give this to you?
Thank you so much, Carrie. Appreciate you being here. Good.
Barry, we'll be in touch.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is presentations for people who are applying to be on boards and commissions. We only have two commissions that have openings this year, the Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustments. And we have quite a few people here to introduce yourselves, tell us why you want to do this, what your interest is. And the council, this is public comments. So we're just, I don't know, we can't ask them questions, can we? Yes, it is on the agenda, so we can do it. So if you have questions, council, you can ask them questions about their application. And I'm just going to go through this list in the order that you all signed up. And we have your applications here, and it's not going to, well, I wonder if I ought to do it that way. If y'all can sort through and find the applications. Maybe I can find them and give you the page number that they're on. Okay, the first person to sign up was Willie Reinders, and his application is on page 8. Willie, and yes, you please use either podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Willie Reinders. In December, it's Willie Reindeers, but the rest of the year, it really is Willie Reinders. I am interested in a position on planning and zoning. I've been a resident in Horseshoe Bay now 4 years, 28 years in the Highland Lakes. Prior to moving to Horseshoe Bay, we were in Sunrise Beach for 25 years. And during that time there, 15 of it was part-time and the remainder was full-time, during which I sat on planning and zoning within Sunrise Beach. And I also was integral to the Highland Lakes Habitat for Humanity for 7 years, and served as a president for that organization for 3 of those years. My career that really got me, I guess, interested in what I can do for the public, et cetera, stems from 38 years with the Fluor Corporation, which you may or may not know, but they were responsible for the addition to the Ferguson power plant in 2010 and 2011. Spent 38 years with them in project management globally. It was a really good ride, and we were glad to retire and get away from that kind of ride. What else to say about me? I feel like as I got familiar with Horseshoe Bay and its citizens, I wanted to put my toes in the water and dabble in a little bit at a time. I sat on the Board of Adjustment as an alternate, and then recently, I guess about a half year ago, got involved with the Land Use Development and Advisory Committee and was active in that until about 2 months ago when my right knee decided it was going to have the best of me, and they had to cut my leg in half and put a new knee in there.
Oh, dear.
But it's doing well, and it's finally stopped swelling, and I'm able to walk around. My wife thinks I'm nuts for continuing to volunteer, but it just within my blood to volunteer, to give back, and to see what I can do to help steer the city. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you very much, Willie. Any council, you have any questions for Willie?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hold it to 3 minutes. I think I may.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I mentioned that. We do try to keep our presentations to 3 minutes. The next person who signed up is Mr. Bob White. That application at the council is on page 13 of your packet.
Hi, I'm Bob White. I'm a retired architect. And as a result of 50 years in that business, I managed a lot of long-term planning. And that's when I'm not a volunteer. But when I see something that is in my line of expertise, at least I think it is, I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. In the course of my business, I was involved. Most of my projects and clients involved long-term, long-range planning of some type or another for governmental entities, quasi-governmental school districts, hospital districts, state of Colorado, et cetera, et cetera. It's a long list and you don't want to hear it. At least I don't think you do. But I have two comments to make, and I think as Dwight said, we've got a pretty nice place to live here. But chaos is coming. It's already here, and it's fixing to engulf us. It's coming right up 71, and you all see it every day when you drive it. And we're going to have one chance to have our say in what our town is going to be in another 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And this is the chance, because it's going to be here before we know it. And long range planning is going to be the key, because the decision you make today is probably going to be permanent. And that's why I'd like to lend my voice to making those decisions. And hopefully we make the right ones.
Thank you so much, Mr. White. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. White? We absolutely agree with you on the 71 issue. And Willie mentioned this Land Use and Advisory and Development Committee. That's something we've been working on, and we're definitely looking at, because we know it's coming, and we know we're probably behind trying to get ahead of it. So appreciate your comments on that, and appreciate your interest in this position. Okay, the next person is Dan Gillian, and that application is on page 11. Dan?
Greetings. So my name's Dan Gillian. My wife Patricia and I have lived in Horseshoe Bay full time since 2005. We had a place out here beginning in '94. I failed at retirement 3 times, so I just thought I'd continue doing other volunteer work. My credentials. Well, first of all, I've applied for either the let's see, what was it? I forget the names of the thing.
Planning and zoning.
And yeah. And my only qualifications are I served on the long range planning committee. Was that 3 years ago? I guess it was. That as part of that, I love living here. My background is business, and particularly in technology. And I've been here long enough that I think I know how the city, works. I've done the class, and that's it in a nutshell. I'd like to help if I can. I think the long range planning committee that I was on gave me a good background to take on one of these, and we in fact have. When we built our most recent house, we did have to get some zoning changes, so I'm familiar with how that works as well.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Any questions for Dan? Well, thank you. Appreciate you being here, Dan. Jay Catron, or is it Caton? Caton. Oh, okay. Jay Caton, page 19.
Good afternoon. I've applied to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself personally, professionally, and then my tie to Horseshoe Bay and why we're here. So personally, I grew up in the Austin area. My dad moved us there in 1967. I'll be forever grateful that he raised us in a Christian home. I became a Christian at 9 years old. And that formulated who I am today. I went to Hyde Park Baptist Church for many years. Service has been part of my life. I served as a deacon there and also at Prestonwood Baptist Church in Plano, Texas. Met my wife in high school at the church. We got married. We've been married for 41 years. We've got 3 wonderful children. One is a middle-aged middle school teacher, science teacher. We've got a younger daughter that's an optometrist up in the Dallas area, and a son who's an architect in Singapore. Professionally, I graduated from Texas A&M in 1982 with a bachelor's in industrial engineering. I worked for 40 years in the electronics manufacturing industry. So I served as a vice president, general manager of many different facilities. And my last 10 years, I had multi-site responsibilities in China, Mexico, and in Scotland. And part of those responsibilities had to do with, site selection for new facilities, planning facilities, facilities layouts, budgeting. I was also responsible for hiring and firing. So every time I fired a general manager, I had to spend weeks and weeks and weeks in the foreign country. So I tried to make sure I didn't have to do that too often. But I think it gave me some good background. I had full P&L responsibility for those facilities. So, I've got a good background from a business standpoint as well. My connection to Horseshoe Bay started 41 years ago this month when I got a call from my dad. And he said, "Son, we're going to spend Christmas at Lake LBJ." I said, "Why in the world would we do that?" He said, "Well, a friend of mine's loaning us their place up there at the lake." So I said, "Okay, fine, we'll go do that." We got there, got ready to open presents, and my brother and sister and I, we all had a little box under the tree. He said, "I want you to open that first." We opened it up, and it was a key to the place. So our family's been here for, like I said, 41 years. I've been playing golf here forever, love this place. And I feel like if I can contribute just in a small way, we all know this place is going to grow, whether we want it to or not. I think there's, some people would say we want to keep it the way it is. Other people say, hey, we need more shopping. We need more of this. We need more of that, right? But I feel like if I can contribute in a small way to how we control that growth and keep it the way we want it, because I love Horseshoe Bay, always have. We came here on vacation. We lived in Dallas for 22 years. We always spent a week here every year, at least 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. And we love the place, and I would be honored to be able to serve in that capacity. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Thank you so much, Jay. Okay, and the next applicant is Bill Corrick, and that is on page 13 of your agenda, council members, if you want to look at Bill's application. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name's Bill Corrick. I grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin. My major was economics and business at Wisconsin. I spent 40 years in business in Los Angeles, where I was a county commissioner, transportation and park and rec. I lost my wife about 5 years ago, and I had a friend out here, and I came here to start a new life. I'm experienced in planning and zoning. My biggest subdivision was a 4,000 unit subdivision in Los Angeles. And my biggest mistake in life was retiring because I was a workaholic and I'm going nuts. I recently joined Rotary, but that's not enough.
Okay.
So I'd appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody have questions? Thank you so much. And the applications have been, lots of information, so we appreciate all that. Susie McCrary, where'd you go? There you are. Page 26, council.
Mayor and council members, my name is Susie McCrary. My husband Dan Skull and I moved to Horseshoe Bay in May of 2022 and found our little piece of paradise in Pecan Creek. We are active in the Church of Horseshoe Bay and the Pecan Creek Homeowners Association, and we're also both December 23 graduates of the Citizens Academy. I'm applying for a position on the Board of Adjustment. I retired in 2017 from Stewart Title in Austin as Vice President and Commercial Escrow Manager. I was a licensed escrow officer for approximately 40 years in the commercial and residential areas. I have an extensive knowledge of Texas real estate law and the last 20 years of my career focused on commercial real estate and land development. I'm experienced in resolving complex title issues, interpreting surveys, and identifying easements and ingress and egress issues. I've been an alternate on the Board of Adjustment for the past year. I don't think I've missed a meeting, and I've had the honor of stepping in twice on the board in members' absences. I feel that my professional background, plus the year that I've served as an alternate, make me uniquely qualified for this position, and I'd appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you so much, and thank you to all of the people who are here to apply for these positions. I am amazed at the quality and the experience and the wealth of experience and information that you're going to bring to this. Whoever we pick, the council has got their hand. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. I almost made a mistake, but I didn't quite make a mistake. Anyway, y'all are going to have a hard time making a decision on this. Just so you know, we will have candidates come again at the December meeting, and so there will be another opportunity for people who weren't here today to talk to the council at the December meeting, and then the council will make their selections at the December meeting. So you won't hear from us after this meeting. You won't hear from us until after the December meeting, which is December the 10th. So thank you very much. I did get everyone that was here for that, right? Okay, good. That's what I was concerned about. I thought I missed someone. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the fiscal year 2024 fourth quarter financial report. And our finance director, Molly Jester, is here.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's time for the fourth quarter financial report. So for the first slide, it's the general fund revenue. You'll notice it's from 10/1 to 9/30, so it represents a full year. The column, the fiscal year 2024 budget, is how we stand right now. However, on the agenda, item 10D, there are some what I would call auditor budget amendments that are not included here. So anything, this is revenue. Let's see. Okay. So the total, if you look at the total down on the bottom, it's 14,668 versus 14,550 budget. So we were better by 118,000 or 0.81%. Some items that make that up that are significant, I'll go over. On the tax line, you'll see that we were under about 200,000. That has to do with our sales tax. And due to like high inflation and decreased spending, that is what resulted in that decrease because it's hard to kind of budget that. Another line item is development services. They had $1 million in revenue actual and $1 million, where'd it go? 728 budget. So they were 290,000 over. And that was mainly due to permits. The next line down, street maintenance, it was 88K down. Again, they have part of sales tax allocated to them, and the Horseshoe Bay PO Bay was less than budgeted. The last line is interest. We were conservative. We only budgeted 550, and we had 728,000 come in. Are there any questions on the general fund revenue for the year?
Nope. Thank you.
If not, I'll go to expenditures on the second page of the slide. Again, it's for a year. If you look at the total, it's 12,223 versus 12,648. So we saved about 425,000. Some of the line items that make up that amount. If you look at the top line, the administration, it was 2.7 versus about 3 million. So it was 267,000 down approximately. And that was due to the drainage and transportation budget was not all used. Another line to look at would be the police. They had savings of about 67,000, and some of that is going to be reserved for police radios. Another line to look at would be street maintenance. It had savings of about 159,000. And the last line on transfer expenditures, we were over 180,000, and that relates to Martin Park out here. There wasn't a budget, and we spent about so far 180,000, and the general fund owes the capital fund. Are there any questions on the expenditures for the general fund? Okay. I'll go on to capital for the general fund. You look down at the bottom, 772,000 versus 865, so there's about 94,000 in savings. You'll note, like on the building improvement, fire station number 2, that was budgeted for fire station number 2, which hasn't even happened yet. So actually, they've started. Have they started?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. It's close. And so that's going to be reserved for next year. So really, that was kind of the main one that happened. Are there any questions on the capital expenditures for the general fund?
Molly, let me just go back. I thought we did have a budget for the Martin Park. That not as much as we did have some budget, didn't we, Tim?
That would have been projected, but it wouldn't have been. Oh, okay. Well, then the transfer wasn't budgeted.
Oh, okay, okay.
Good question.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. So we'll go on to utility fund, the revenue for that. Again, it's for a year. If it's greater than 100%, they did better. And if it's less than 100%, it was a little short. If you look down at the bottom, it's 13 million versus about 17 million. So it looks like we're about 4 million under. It's a little misleading. If you look at the last line, the transfer income, the capital fund received 4.5 million for utility various projects. We only spent 623,000, so that's why that is way under. These projects are multi-year projects also, and they will be carried forward to fiscal year 25. Some other items that make that up would be the water charges on line 2 was about 166 down. The water tap connections were lower than budget. For wastewater charges, it's about 290,000 down. That was to service tap connections were down and grinder cells were down. The next line is the solid waste recycling, and that was up about 79,000. Garbage fees were up. So again, it's just a little misleading why it's under budget. Are there any questions on the utility fund revenue? Okay, we'll go to expenditures. Again, 10 a year. If you look down at the total, there's not much difference. It's about 200,000 down in savings. And that's, let's see, what are the large ones? So like water distribution, the taps, M&R, and the meter expense were down by about 250,000. The wastewater treatment, the chemicals and salaries, there were savings. And wastewater collections, savings in salary and M&R. And then the solid waste recycling, the revenue went up, but so did the expenses. Any questions on the utility fund expenditures? Okay, we'll go over the capital for the utility fund. Go down to the bottom. It's about 2 million actual versus almost 6 million budget. So it's about 3.7 million under. And again, it has to do with those, the bonds that we were talking about. They either had not started or they had barely started. And if we look at machine and equipment, just that one, there was savings of 70,000 The vehicles, they were over about 5,000. For the building and improvements, it's way under. The expansion of the reclamation center is a multi-year, and they hadn't started on the next two projects. So again, those savings will be carried forward to fiscal year 25. The sewer line improvements, again, it's off by about 2.3 million, and the pipeline had barely started. And if you look at water plant, it's something similar. The water storage tank and the west water treatment plant, those had barely started also. So again, they're multi-year projects and they will be carried forward. Any questions on the utility fund capital?
I do have a question. So on the high storage pipeline, where's Rick? When is that going to be done?
So we received 90% drawings, had the final meeting with them last week, Ray? Does that sound right? In the last couple of weeks. So
I didn't see you, Ray. I'm sorry.
No worries. So they are finalizing bid documents. We think we'll have something to present to go to bid in December. And then on the January council meeting, we'll want to award the construction part of it. And show about a 6 to 9 month construction process, depends on some factors, but it should be online by summer.
And will there be disruption in the community during that construction?
There'll be some disruption of roadways, but not water.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's a parallel line, we'll minimize. There won't be service interruption unless they hit a service or something, which obviously we'll take precaution, but can't guarantee there won't be anything. But it should be very minimal.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions?
Yeah, the liners that we were putting in the tanks.
Yes.
Are they in this?
Yeah, they're. That's, I think what you're talking about is the water storage tank rehab, the clear well tanks.
Yes.
Do you know when they propose to have those, Ray?
We're still waiting on them to come back because there was still a lead time from the manufacturer, still based on they have to actually make these things, and the time that we got in, it set us back almost 8 months.
So that'll be a carry forward also then?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and they have a tight window for that too. Obviously, with those clear well tanks at Central, we do not want to take them out of service during the summer. So, and they know that contractually, they've got to get them online before Memorial Day. So,
And on the
follow up.
And on the internet towers, why didn't we have a budget for that? Because we didn't. I mean,
That one was in the capital fund as part of the bond, and then it got moved over because it's ARPA.
so we really did have a budget, just not in this fund, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The internet towers always get me. They're not water. So.
Yeah, that wasn't your question, Rick.
Yeah, and that was paid out of the Llano County contract.
Right. That's what I thought. So, okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any more questions for Molly? I just want to thank Molly and her team. These three ladies have had a really, really busy month, or more than 1 month, I'm sure, because the auditors have been here. They're working on the audit. They've been working on this report. They've been working on closing the books, and they've been working on the budget adjustments. And I know you guys have really been working hard, and it's been a real taxing time for you. So just know that we appreciate all your efforts here at the end of the year and the beginning of the next year, Molly. Thank you. Okay, so that is our presentations, and now we're ready to move into public hearings. The first public hearing, and we do have people here to speak to this, is the preliminary plat of Richter Ranch subdivision plat of 54.567 acres consisting of 103 single-family lots and 7 drainage open space lots located at Mountain Dew and Rocky Ridge in Zone 4. So what we're going to do, we're going to open the public hearing at 3:49, and I'm going to ask Roy, where's Roy, to make a presentation on behalf of the staff, and then we'll ask the people who have come to speak to this to speak.
Yes, ma'am. I'll try and be brief as possible. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, here that are interested in speaking. I guess the best way to start out is to try and distinguish what a subdivision plat is compared to other forms of zoning entitlements, and more specifically, what a preliminary plat and purpose of it is. Once again, the best way that I've come to describe this, a subdivision plat that resonates with people and seems to explain in a way they can understand it, is that it's a ministerial process. By that, I mean that what we're there to do is see that all the boxes that are required to be checked are checked. A preliminary plat specifically serves as an instruction to the staff and a blessing, if you will, for the applicant to proceed with the other portions of the required process, which is, of course, the subdivision construction plans, resulting in the last step of the process being the final plat approval. Not only in this case were not the boxes all checked, I would go so far as to say that some of them have X's through it. Specifically, the one that limits cut and fill in the jurisdiction. Now, the $64,000 question is how did this application get to this stage where that was not brought up to the P&Z in the initial staff report? The explanation is pretty simple, actually. Ever since I've been here, which you guys may realize I started early in August, one of the things I have done in interacting with the staff is talk about a priority and a wish list and one of the things we need to do. The existing staff had been instructed by not just one of my predecessors, but both of them, that this was not an item that was regulated in our existing ordinance. As a result, we didn't question that, but that certainly came up in the discussion about, this is something we probably need to look at in the near future in terms of potential changes. Not only that, we discussed it in terms of something that we need to add as it relates to commercial construction, not just subdivision plats, but any buildings that would allow you to basically change the natural topography to fit some artificial desire to develop something that's not, if you will, taking advantage of the natural topography. The best way I know to explain that, it's pretty simple. Everybody knows that this area is referred to as the hill country. If you don't want to develop, in accordance with the natural topography, maybe this isn't the best place to buy property. Common example of that, most of you are familiar with 360 in Austin near the Pennybacker Bridge. You'll see that that's typical hill country. Those houses are built without disturbing, excessive cut and fill. They just simply work with the topography that's there. Another example I can refer to you to show how important an issue this is to me personally. Most of you know I came here from Lago Vista. In about 2012, Lago Vista inadvertently approved a zoning ordinance, a PD, that allowed them to exceed the normal 4 to 8 feet cut and fill that's associated with their typical ordinance. There were no drawings that showed, what this was going to look like. And in the aftermath of both the recession and the drought, they were pretty desperate to get anybody to build anything and generate some revenue. Unfortunately, they only recently discovered what the results of that approval were going to be. For those of you who may have driven from Cedar Park back into this direction through 1431 and see Lago Vista, you'll see something that they describe as moonscaping. Basically, it is well in excess of the 8 feet of cut and fill that they had to utilize to achieve the density that they had already approved in that PD. And the way to do that, they had to flatten the lot so they could achieve that density that they'd already approved. I spent quite a bit of my career explaining them exactly how they would prevent making that mistake again in the PD. But the reason I tell you that story is to explain that no such approval in this case exists. What you have is an existing subdivision regulation. It's in your subdivision regulation. The reason it was pretty apparent to me is that it was because what you have is a fairly typical thing in this area. People refer to the City of Austin subdivision design standards and incorporated into the local ordinance by reference. So when I saw that reference to the City of Austin design regulations, I was pretty confident that I would find those cut and fill limitations in there. In short, what I'm telling you is that you don't really have the right to approve this whether you wanted to or not. One of the reasons is because there's never been an application for a variance to that design standard limitation, if you will. You might ask the question, well, does that mean we have to deny it? Well, the short answer to that, and I'll defer to Dottie in this regard, is the legislature has created something that we lovingly refer to as the Texas shot clock. That means if you don't deny something within a certain period of time, that it will be deemed to be approved. To the best of my knowledge, we are up against the Texas shot clock, and your only option is to deny it or to potentially follow the recommendation of the P&Z, which is to approve it conditioned upon the 3 deficiencies being corrected that they knew about. However, once again, they were not aware of the cut and fill limitation and the fact that that was not complied with. In my opinion, you don't really have any other option other than deny this application.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roy. And do we have a representative from the developer here? Yes, sir. And your name, please?
Andrew Brewer.
Andrew, thank you.
Yes, we were not, well, I guess I'll get straight to what seems to be the biggest issue with it, which is this cut and fill requirement, which we were not made aware of until 9 a.m. this morning. Pardon me if I'm a little bit unprepared on that because we're just learning about it. We purchased this property several years ago with the intention of developing it into single family lots in accordance with the already approved zoning that came with the land, which is R1 zoning. So that, was clearly the intention of the land when we purchased it, and that is what we have worked to follow. We've worked with the Development Services Department over the last 2 years, as well as LCRA and other governing bodies to make sure that the plan complies with all the requirements and all the issues that were brought up to us when we had our meeting with P&Z a couple of weeks ago. We addressed the issues that were brought up there. This plat was recommended for conditional approval pending 3 specific items, which in my opinion are very minor. It would be allocating some additional parking around the mail kiosks, making sure that the impervious coverage requirements on the plat are highlighted in bold so that it's very obvious to any end buyers, and also to ensure that an existing property that is owned by another person that happens to be landlocked by our property will be able to maintain access to their property during construction, all of which we're able to do. In terms of the cut and fill, which it seems like is the thing that's come up today, there's developing within the hill country and working with the existing topography, which can be very challenging and cost prohibitive because of the additional structural engineering that needs to go into the homes. So we pursued a way to level parts of the lots with the intention of making sure that the community is still aesthetically pleasing, has green spaces, community amenities. Many of the lots are larger lots, 1/4 acre, 1/3 acre lots. So, we're not in any way trying to just, cram tiny little 5,000 square foot lots in here. We've tried to design the community with aesthetics in mind and that we believe fit with the nature of Horseshoe Bay that my other partners in the deal love about the city who are residents here. I don't have a great answer to the cut and fill thing.
Can I ask you a question? In the staff report that we got, it says that the lot sizes range from 0.39 acres to 0.17 acres. Are there lot sizes in your development at 0.17 acres?
Yes, there's a mixture of different lot sizes, with the smallest being 0.17, the largest being 0.39.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Council, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. Will all these homes have two-car garages or larger? Is there any single-car garages?
I don't believe single car garages. No, I mean, it's not something that fits with the aesthetics of Horseshoe Bay. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. What is the minimum square footage?
I believe the minimum square footage, I want to say, is 2,500 square feet off the top of my head. I know there's an impervious coverage requirement. We did have to work with the impervious coverage requirement. That was something that we worked with LCRA in order to address the environmental concerns. I believe the staff report that y'all received does call out that there were environmental concerns, and restricting that impervious coverage was a way that we figured out with LCRA to meet that requirement without unduly restricting development on the lots. I mean, somebody likely wouldn't be able to build an 8,000 square foot home. However, with that 4,000 square feet of impervious coverage, they should be allowed to put a decent sized home, including a 2-car garage, as well as, patios and decks and everything there.
All right. And the last question, really, Roy, it's directed to you, Roy. If I'm understanding what you just said, we can't approve this. We have to deny it based on the cut.
Yes, sir. If you wanted to approve it, it would require a subdivision variance.
All right. So when we deny this, what is the recourse?
They'll have to file, consistent with the shot clock, they get to reapply.
Okay.
And
they can reapply correcting it. They can reapply ignoring it.
Okay. Basically, we're saying,
So it would be a 6-month window.
Yeah.
Before you can bring it back to.
And I'll defer to Dottie, but I think perhaps the unintended consequence of the shot clock, they prohibit us from waiving the delay. It leads to a lot of denials as opposed to deferrals to let them address these issues.
Okay.
But that's self-imposed.
All right.
The developers lobby that created this law.
So if I'm understanding it right now, what's in front of the council, we can't approve it.
That's my interpretation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Council, do you have any other questions?
I just had
Yes,
one other comment on that. I obviously understand, the potential legal predicament there. But I would just like to mention that we've been working on this project with development services. We've had numerous discussions back and forth, and 8:58 this morning is the first time that we were told that this was going to be a requirement. I mean, and I believe that the letter that y'all received even states that within the subdivision requirements, the link that specifies these is a broken link, and it can be found elsewhere. But the documents that we provided the entire time, those weren't in there. They weren't spelled out in the subdivision requirements. The link that goes to them wasn't functional, so it just has
put you in a bad predicament.
Right. We're not entirely sure what to do at this point, especially since we went to P&Z a couple of weeks ago. We weren't made aware of it there, and it was actually recommended by 3 out of the 4 members for approval. So, I mean, we're not opposed to, to working with y'all to try to figure out a solution. But, I guess the concern from the development team would be that this just becomes like a slash, sorry, you guys are, SOL here.
I think that the expectation would be that that Roy and his team can guide you through this process to, so that in 6 months you can come back with something that would fit their requirements. I don't think that what he's suggesting is that we say, no, you can never put anything on your land. I think that it's just, the way this is presented, they have problems with it. And in that light, since it's likely, I would expect that you will come back with something of a revised plan of some means. We have a number of people here, so I don't want to rush you, but if and you can certainly come back if you want to, that I'd like to give an opportunity for the residents to speak. They've come to speak, and I'd like for you all to speak and tell us what your concerns are, because likely this will come back to council at some future time on the same parcel of property. So with that being said, I'm going to call, and as I said, if you want to come back after they speak, you're welcome to get to go to the podium again. So I'm going to.
Did you open the public hearing?
I did. Yeah, it's something 49, I think. I can remember. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. I
And so we would ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And Carrie's got a clock over here. And if don't feel obligated to say the same thing that somebody else already said, you can just say, you know, she said that well, and I agree with what she said, however you want to do it. So the first person signed to speak is Ruth Buss.
Mayor, council members, citizens, my name is Ruth Buss. I've been a full-time resident in Horseshoe Bay for 25 years. I wish to register my concern and disapproval to the proposed subdivision of 54 acres of land near Mountain Dew into 123 new single-family lots. The proximity of the 54 acres would adversely affect the hiking trail, the mausoleum, wildlife, and so on, and the loss of this natural area cannot be replaced. I'm also concerned about water rights with this additional acreage. Horseshoe Bay currently has 10,000 undeveloped lots. The proposal of additional lots would seem to add to unbalanced growth and a decline in preserving what makes our city unique. Since most Horseshoe Bay residents at this time are unaware of this proposal, I ask you to deny the subdivision request at this time and table it for more careful consideration until residents can realistically be made of this proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. And my sincere apologies to Cynthia Kleinsmith, who was actually the first person who signed up.
I've been set aside many times in my life. That's okay.
I apologize.
I'm just trying to get to another meeting. So
She's trying to get somewhere.
I am, but how fun to have a different view of our city at work and to take the opportunity to thank you all for your time and talent. I don't think people realize this is volunteer and how many hours you have to put into it. So thank you. I'm here also to ask the council to not approve this plat as it stands, largely because of certainly the topographical influence, but I also just want this opportunity for the developer. We've all been here 30 years. We've grown with it. We know we're growing, but we've always operated under a belief of managed growth that respected who we were as a hill country. And so my request to you is that as it goes back, and it's really to the developer and a good neighbor policy, I'm a firm believer in property rights. You bought the property, you want to develop it. You kind of wish you hadn't, but you get a right to. But we've got lots of examples of developers who've come forward with the same issue. They've moved their project in directions to cut in half the density that they were putting in place. We've got hidden coves, the resorts, condos they did. We even had one who had, I don't know how many acres the Smith Ranch was, but turned it into a nature park. Our developers have respected that we are a unique community. And then as Ms. Buss mentioned, we have 10 minutes from here, 1,000 new homes going in. We've got Silver Rock coming in. We've got Monarch Ridge coming in. The reality of us needing another 100 homes, we're just worried about filling those, truthfully, but just where they're located coming down Mountain Dew and that area, trying to get onto 2147, the construction trucks, the whole impact of the communities. I think maybe the council can't make denials on that, but our developer certainly needs to take a look at that and respect who his neighbors are going to be. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.
And I
Appreciate
have to
you being
leave,
here.
sorry.
Okay, thank you. Next person who has signed up is Marilyn Campbell.
Well, I really don't have as much to say as I have written out here because they've said it for me. I kind of wanted to go through a section I was looking at the 2005 City Comprehensive Plan. I went back that far. It says to preserve the lifestyle of the city's inhabitants, facilitate the utilization of undeveloped property in the area, and encourage public output. Then you go down to the long range plan of 2023. Going forward, it says communicate and support identity of a city as a healthy living community with priority on small town and environmental sustainability. The recent land study, if you go in there and you look at what they have, when you rate public parks and green space, it's over 9 from a 1 to 10. So that means everyone is concerned about the area that we live in, and I think that area should be a green space. If we'd like to work with some of the developers, that area has so much area in there that is not really easily buildable. And if you go close to the mausoleum and close to the hiking trail, it's going to ruin the habitat around it. I would really like to see if there was some way that we could utilize part of that area as a nature preserve. And that's my speech.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. Ellen Anguish.
Hello, I live at the intersection of Mountain Dew and Grassy Knoll, and I have several issues with this proposed project. Some of which I totally agree with Ruth and Cynthia and about the traffic, the use of water, and just losing the natural habitat. I also have some concerns about the developer company itself. At the planning and zoning meeting, he stated that they would not do any clearing. There was a notice posted at the intersection of Mountain Dew, Grassy Knoll last September and October, dated 8/12/23, and it states on there that I'm having a hard time seeing, I'm sorry. The project will include site clearing. So there's a contradiction to what Mr. Brewer said at the planning and zoning meeting and what was printed on the posted notice at that intersection. My other concern with the developer is if you Google Richter's Ranch, there's a website that claims, and I quote, "The community is located across the street from the Horseshoe Bay Resort." Well, if you consider Clayton Nolan to Mountain Dew, Cheyenne is across the street, it's about a mile, then that's exaggeration, and that doesn't make me feel comfortable. My other thing about them is, let's see. Since that notice was posted at the intersection of Mountain Dew and Grassy Knoll, developers had 3 different addresses, one in Pflugerville, one in Austin, and one in Round Rock. That, to me, indicates instability, unstableness from them. And none of those addresses are, if you Google, if you go to the tax records, they don't own, the developer doesn't own any of those addresses. And Dark Sky, 123 homes, enough said. Anyway, again, Horseshoe Bay prides itself on being an upscale, A+ community, and I don't feel like this is the vision that Horseshoe Bay would like to move forward with.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker is John McGrew.
Thank you very much. I'm John McGrew. I'm a retired geologist. I live across the road from this project on Mountain Dew. And of course, I have the same concerns as everybody else. And I don't want to go through it, again. We all have the same concerns there. The traffic, the type of construction it's going to be. It's a rough country there, what they're going to have to do to be able to build there. That's just some of the concerns that I have. And just wanted to
Appreciate it. Thank you. Staff, did we have other letters that we received from people who aren't here? Okay. The only other one I got was from the mausoleum that I can recall. They had a concern about the proximity to the, yeah. So Okay, council members, do you have any questions for Roy or Mr. Brewer? Any further questions? Mr. Brewer, would you like to say anything further?
Yeah, just, and I won't take up too much time. To respond directly to some of those comments, in terms of the concern about water rights, we'll be using municipal city services. We've been in contact with the utility director, and they've assured us that there is adequate water supply for this subdivision for the proposed density. So we've already taken steps to address that. In terms of there being lots that are there that have not been built on, I mean, these would be private lots. If they can't be sold, that's an economic risk that we as the developers will be taking. It's not something that is going to negatively impact the finances of Horseshoe Bay, but it could end up being a benefit due to generating tax revenue. Also, we will be improving at our own cost municipal utility services, because we'll be upgrading all of those water and sewer lines in the area in order to provide service, as well as improving the existing roads. And that's at our cost. Again, not something that we're expecting the city to do for us. Just in speaking to our development team, 2 members of our development team have connections here with Horseshoe Bay. One, Dr. Richter, who the subdivision is named for, is a resident at Horseshoe Bay. He lives at the Horseshoe Bay Resort. And one of our other partners, his uncle, is also a resident at the Horseshoe Bay Resort. So we do have ties in this community. In terms of our mailing address changing, one of the addresses listed, the one in Pflugerville, is my primary home. So if y'all want to look that up and come to my house and bang on my door, y'all are free to do that. And I do own that home. The other 2 is we had an office. We gave that office up and moved to another one. We either maintain a presence at all of those locations, or we do have mail forwarding set up at the office that we're no longer in. So any mail that's sent to any of those addresses will reach us. There is a way to do that. Our contact information is also available freely online. So, you can look us up, and our personal emails and phone numbers can be found online for anyone that wants to contact us. In terms of the concern about clearing on the site and my statements at P&Z, we did state that we would not just be clear cutting the entire site, but we will need to clear parts of the site for the public right-of-way improvements. So when we mentioned that there would be site clearing, it was referring specifically to that. Now, there may be some clearing on the lots when those are sold for people to build homes, but there will not be clear cutting. That's what I stated at P&Z, and that is the position that we maintain. And in terms of the walking trails and disturbing the natural environment, there is disturbing of the natural environment in any kind of development. Obviously I can't argue with that. I think everybody knows that. But we have worked to include green space in the subdivision, and we've tried to work with the existing amenities in the area, with the walking trails, to connect that to trails and amenities within the community. We've set aside lots that will not be built on in the community, and we've specifically worked to ensure that there's not going to be any issues with flooding, water quality, anything like that. So we've been very aware of those concerns and tried to address them in our designs. I believe, aside from the cut and fill issue, we had pretty much addressed that to the satisfaction of the city requirements. So I guess that's
Okay,
all I have
thank
to
you.
say on that. Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And we really appreciate you being here. We appreciate your openness. And it sounds like it's pretty clear the action that our staff is recommending that we take. However, when you come back, please understand that even though probably everybody would love to say no more building, but that's not what's going to happen. We know there's going to be more development, and whoever said it is right. We have almost 8,000 lots in the city that are not developed. Those are going to be built on. All of us moved here, and we know how wonderful it is and how exciting it is to join this community, and we want to welcome other people here. So we're not closing the doors. We're very fussy about our community and the requirements, and I know that you're aware of that and respectful of it. So please don't take this to think that we are just totally anti-development and won't be fair with people who are trying to make a living in this trade. That's not our intention at all. So appreciate you being here. And council, does anyone have any other questions? Okay, we'll close the meeting at 4:20, and I will
Thank you.
entertain a motion on this preliminary plat.
And Mayor and council, if you're considering the motion to deny, the state law requires written statements to the applicant. So your potential motion in your packet was to deny based on the 3 reasons listed in the planning and zoning staff report. But there's been an additional condition that's in your city code that you need to include in that motion.
Okay, Dottie, can you?
Which is failing to meet the city design and construction standards for single-family lots, that they have the usable lot area that accounts for all steep slopes and grade limitations, and direct staff to provide the written conditions of disapproval to the applicant if your motion is to deny.
Okay, thank you. So I'll allow someone to make a motion, and if you want to incorporate Dottie's comments into that, we'll do it by reference to Dottie's comments.
I would like to move to deny the preliminary plat application for failure to address the concerns identified by staff during and after the recommendation for approval by P&Z earlier, in addition to the comments of failure to abide by the city's building standards that were addressed in Dottie's comments just a few minutes ago. Is that
And to direct staff to provide the written,
yes,
if it passes.
yes, and to direct the staff to provide written explanation
Of the disapproval
of the
to the applicant.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is another public hearing on ordinance 2025-03, rezoning of 11.023, 024 acres out of the Elijah Mercer survey, locally known as 11-001-2147, from R6 apartments, yada, yada, to GUI, government, utility, institutional, and amending the zoning map within Zone 3. And this is what we call the Lake Church. So, Sandra, go ahead. Oh, I'm
morning.
sorry. I need to start the public hearing at 4:23.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. This is a request to zone approximately 11 acres that is referred to as the front of the Stonehouse tract. This is the intersection of 71 and 2147. You come down here, here's Brixton, and then right here, way back there is actually the Stonehouse. And so this is actually the tract right in front of the Stonehouse, right across from Bay Country. This tract is currently zoned for R6, and when it was zoned R6, council made into the motion that no apartments would be allowed. So this is really currently zoned R6 to allow townhomes and cottages, and a small portion of the property is zoned C2. To build a church, the applicant will need GUI, government, utility, and institutional zoning. They are proposing a church, Lake Church. We do have representatives here if there's any questions. They are initially proposing, well, I don't know initially, they're proposing a 500-seat sanctuary with associated parking. There will not be a school. Here's a zoning map. We just talked about it. You can see a little bit is just a little bit of that that darker orange is the C2 parts. And they would like, if this zoning is approved, it would go to GUI, and this is what the new zoning map would look like if this is approved. Here's their site plan. And as we can see, there's the Stonehouse way back there. So this is really right there's 2147. They are subject to the image corridor, and they have plenty of room. They've actually drawn line on the map to show us that they have plenty of room for their image corridor overlay. And they've got both, the whole area they've got used up, so they don't have any room for a school. This is pretty much going to be full build for this particular piece of property. Because the stone house is back here, they will be providing a street to get back to access the stone house. This would be a private street. Access to 2147 is controlled by TxDOT. TxDOT has waived the TIA like they always do for a church. TxDOT has told us that they will need to go get a new access permit. So the applicant is working with TxDOT to renew the permit, but the access is basically in the exact same spot that it's at right now. We went to Planning and Zoning Commission about 8 weeks ago, and the commission did vote unanimously to recommend that council consider approving the zoning.
Anything else? Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Sandra? The applicant's here. Brady or Jean, do either of you want to say anything?
So thank you, Sandra. We appreciate all the support of city staff and P&Z up to this point. It's been great, and them leading us along the way. And we're very excited and humbled to be a part of the process to build a new church here in the area.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, any questions, council? And nobody signed up to speak on this topic. So having said that, we'll close the public hearing at 4:26. I'm having a hard time with this 100 here. At 4:26, and council, I will entertain a motion on this issue.
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-03 as unanimously recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilmember Weatherby. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilmember Hosia. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries. You're going to go down in history as your first motion was to approve the church. Yeah. When Gene first came and discussed this with me, I said, well, we got plenty of sinners to go around. So we really appreciate your being in the community. You didn't disagree. Okay. The next issue on our agenda is another public hearing. The final plat for Horseshoe Bay Center plat number 3 to replat a Gamble plat number 1 known as 135 Tory Lane from commercial lot to 2 commercial lots in zone 3 of Horseshoe Bay Way West with Scooter Loft. And as the applicant will open the public hearing at 4:28. And Sandra?
This is a little property right there on Tory Lane. This is Tory Lane. This is 2147. Here's the post office. Here's Ace Hardware, Bay Market, and the bank. So you can kind of get the idea where it's part of. Before City of Horseshoe Bay, this was actually called the Gamil subdivision. And that name actually carried along for quite a while. And in 2015, this tract was actually platted into a 1-lot plat, 1 commercial lot. It's currently zoned commercial. Everything around there is zoned commercial except for the gray. The gray is the utility, government, institutional. We have the post office up front there. So he's got the zoning he needs. It's a really just rectangle square lot, kind of in the back. You really can't even see it as you're driving down 2147. This is what he wants to do. He wants to take, and this is the application, take this square lot and put 1 lot line down the middle and subdivide it into 2. Same use commercial, whether he's going to build the same thing on it, whether he subdivided or not. He's decided to sell half of it, so he's decided to subdivide it.
How big are those lots?
The whole lot is about a ½ acre, so that's about a ¼ acre. 0.44, yeah, 0.22.
So I'm trying to imagine what's going to go in there. What potentially could go in there.
Scooter's here.
We've been, thanks, Frank. So we've been working on a couple of buildings, and we're going to put forth a conditional use permit for next month to come show you guys. We have a rendering, and then we'll have an animation. We'll show you all that. But essentially, it's going to be conditional use will be the personal storage. People can store their RVs or their sports cars or things like that. So that's kind of the idea.
Okay, so you'll be back. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, does anybody else have a question for either Sandra or Scooter? Nope. Okay, then we'll close the public meeting at 4:30, and I will entertain a motion on this item.
Move we approve Horseshoe Bay Center plat number 3 as unanimously recommended by the P&Z committee.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Morgan. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Scooter. Okay, and for business, we have several things that we need to do, sort of housekeeping wise. Annual appointment of the mayor pro tem. So for the last year, Elaine has served as our mayor pro tem. She just was sworn in for her final 2 years on the council. And we've discussed this, and Elaine has some interest in focusing on something else. She sits up here and she doesn't talk a lot, but communication is a two-way thing. She really listens. And that is something that is really her interest in her strong suit, is listening and communicating that way. And so Elaine is interested in really getting involved in the communication that we do with the city. We've worked really hard in the last, since the long range plan came out in 2019. One of the things that we said we needed to do was communicate. And so we've done a lot of talking. We've got a website, we've got a Facebook page, we've got the city corner, we've got the mayor's newsletters. We've done a lot of pushing out information. And it's very important for us to do the pulling back in of the information at the same time. So Elaine and I have talked, and she wants to get involved with Dan in doing that. So this is her last 2 years on the council. So I think that's great. And what I would like to recommend to the council for the mayor pro tem is this gentleman to my right, not just because he's a Baylor guy, but that didn't hurt. Jeff is an attorney. He's very. I would love to have him in this position because for me, he's a great balancing person for me. He's a good thinking partner. He gives me a lot of great input and ideas, and I would love to see Jeff in that position. So that's my recommendation to the council. Sure.
I move to appoint Councilman Jeff Jones as our new mayor pro tem.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Waddell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Weatherby. Under discussion, Jeff, would you be willing to do this?
I will be willing to do this as long as you're the mayor.
Well, I'm not going anywhere. So. Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Elaine, for 6 years and counting. She's not going anywhere either. Okay. Annual appointment of 2 council members to public funds for public purposes. And Dwight and Larry, right, did this last year. Elaine comes in and signs checks for the city. The check signers are either Larry or Elaine. To me, it makes a lot of sense for Elaine and Larry to serve this purpose. But if some of you have other ideas, we're open to it. But I need a motion for the council for two members to serve as the representatives, the public funds for public purposes.
I move that we allow Larry and Elaine to take on the responsibility of what do we call it? Public funds for public purpose, City Council Subcommittee.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Hosier. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from the Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, and we appreciate you all doing that. It's not a big job, but it's an important job to those charities that get the money, and to have someone who will thoughtfully go through those applications is important. Okay, Resolution 2025-07, adopting tax code section 3311. Wow, I'm talking tax codes. This is my neck of the woods. Go, Molly.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. So we're here to adopt the tax code section 33-11. Wanted to give you a little background. There's another one, tax code section 33.07, that allows an additional penalty, for example, attorney fees attached on all property tax accounts that remain delinquent on July 1st. However, there's a tax code section 33-11 allows that an additional penalty, for example, attorney fees, attach on delinquent business, personal property, and mobile home accounts as early as April instead of the July 1st date. The legislative intent behind the passing of tax code section 3311 is that businesses are subject to closing and mobile homes are subject to being moved from the county. With attorney fees attaching in April, a law firm can initiate collection efforts on businesses and mobile homes quicker. So staff recommends adopting tax code section 33-11.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions?
So yes, I do. This replaces what?
Doesn't really replace anything. It's just in addition.
So what we're doing is just accelerating our recovery.
Yes, for personal property and the mobile homes, it's just accelerating.
You have anything to add to this for us, Carrie?
That's correct, Molly. I appreciate you reached out a lot to me when we were approaching the city about adopting this, and I had to clarify these exact questions. So as it stands right now under the property tax code, all delinquent accounts that exist as of July the 1st, real property, business, personal property, and mobile homes, the attorney's fees, the additional fees are actually attorney's fees attached to those accounts on July the 1st. So you're correct. By adopting tax code section 3311, it just allows for those attorney's fees, which would normally attach in July, be moved up to April on delinquent business, personal property accounts, and mobile homes. And by the way, y'all, this has been quite a journey. Also, under the tax code, I've had to go before every single board for all of the entities here in Llano County, including the little ESDs, Llano County Road and Bridge, Road 1. It's been a lot. So everybody has adopted it. Y'all have the opportunity to adopt it today. And then I have one more jurisdiction to cover. That's next Monday, which will be Deer Haven Water District. So it's been a lot.
I can't see any reason why. I can't see any adverse consequences at all to this for us. It's just,
Right. And another good reason to adopt the particular tax code section in terms of just overall management of the delinquent tax roll. When, for example, right now, the taxes that are out there, y'all good paying citizens have already received and probably paid your bill for 2024. So when those unpaid 2024 taxes roll around to the law firm on July the 1st, everything now, real business and mobile home accounts, it's crazy. We send a mass mailer to every single delinquent account. It's chaos. We can't take vacation in July. Our phones are crazy with taxpayers calling. The tax office is crazy with people coming in to pay, opening mail and posting payments and this, that, and the other. So just giving us a little bit of a jump on just the business and the mobile home accounts kind of spreads that chaos out for a little bit less of a time than it being concentrated in just July. It really helps the tax office out a lot too in terms of their manpower.
thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Molly. Does anyone have any other questions for either? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on Resolution 2025-07.
I move we adopt Resolution 2025-7, adopting the tax code section 33.11.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Hosea. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Morgan. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries.
Thank y'all very much.
Ordinance number 2025-04. Molly's already up there, so we'll let you tell us about that one.
Okay, so this one's to approve and adopt an amendment to all budgeted funds for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. So one of the first things the auditor does when they get here, which will be next Monday, they will look at every expense item and see if it exceeded the budget. And so one of the requirements is for finance director to actually look at that and propose these amendments to make sure that every account, and mainly the expenditure accounts, there are not any where the actual exceeds the budget. So practically every line needs an adjustment because hardly ever did we budget the exact amount of actuals. So all these that are attached list out all the budgets that are being recommended. If you look at the yellow column, there's a column highlighted in yellow, and it says revision, increase, or decrease. And those would be all the budgeted amendments. I'd also like to mention, like I did in the presentation, that there will be some carry forwards and multi-year projects resulting from these budget amendments. Are there any questions?
Does this also cover the transfer funds? When we
Yes,
do this?
every account, yes.
Okay.
So the net change is our cash position is going to go down by $340,000 based on these adjustments. Is that right, Molly?
Well, each fund is different. Are you talking all funds or?
I'm just looking at that total number, estimated ending cash
On which page?
on page 77.
I didn't. I just printed it out. Is there
Oh, okay.
a fund at the top or?
It says, no, at the bottom, it says total revenue, the net revision was a negative $4,203,000. Total expenses that was $3,863,000. And then the net estimated ending cash balance at 9/30 went from revised budget is $3,396,891 from September actuals.
Okay, so that is the utility fund.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, each fund will have their own adjustment, and that is correct for the utility fund. It's
Oh, you did it.
approximately about 300 less than what we had projected earlier.
So we're talking all the different.
Every fund, practically every account.
I'm okay with that.
So the general fund, we improved our cash balance by $575,900, almost $576,000.
To get there.
On page 82.
So I didn't number mine, so I just printed mine out. So for the general fund, the estimated ending unrestricted balance with these budgeted amendments due to, the audit is about 500,000. And originally we had budgeted about 615,000.
Okay.
So we're a little less
Good.
on the general.
But we've
fund.
got a lot of things down in that restrictions too.
Yes.
I mean, it's not, we've got a lot of items in that restrictions. Okay.
Yes, there's like 8.5 million in.
Okay, council members, do you have any questions for Molly on this? Yes, you do?
No.
Oh,
I'm good
no.
now. I'm good.
Okay.
I just.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion on, what is that?
2025.
Which one are we? Oh, 2025-04, yeah.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-04, approving the adoption of an amendment of all budgeted funds for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Morgan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Now we are to item E, which is request from a property owner to close and abandon an existing unimproved dedicated public right-of-way. It's on page 100 of your packet, and Jeff's going to tell us about this.
100, 100.
100. What's that? Oh, it's not the fire department, is it?
Like an EKG.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, council, and mayor. So on October 22nd, we received a letter from Jordan Jaffrey requesting a street right-of-way that's leading from the road Ridgeway to the property owner's property, which is owned by the Horseshoe Bay Resort. It is a piece of property that was going to be used for a right-of-way to connect the property between the street and the future property development. And it was requested that we allow them to purchase or trade that property to include it in with a lot that's next door adjacent to it. And so I did some research to find out what we needed to do that. We do have a code in our ordinances that allow us to do that. I checked with Dottie on the state requirements to do this. And so when we started looking at it, I realized that we were in the process of looking at easements that we needed along the couple of commercial pieces of property for a shared path plan. And so I proposed that maybe we consider trading those properties for each other. And so if you look in the package I gave you, we have 4 different locations that we're looking at along that shared path. And then one that was a right-of-way, or we needed right-of-way access on the property between the Horseshoe Bay property and the hills where the fire station is being built, so we can kind of group those two together, this piece of right here. And so what we're looking at just to add that piece of property to this. Buck, do you have one of these?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah, I do. I was just.
So I've talked to the resort about this, and I believe it's a good trade for and a timely trade for the city and for the resort to do this. We don't believe that there'll be any negative impact. Did ask Jordan to give me a letter saying he understood that it was going to remove that right away from, access to that property. And he provided me a letter saying it was okay, that they had 2 other access points on that property, one on Mountain Dew and one on Thanksgiving Mountain and Surefire. So there is 2 access ways on there. And right now that property is not planned to be developed anyway, but they did want to move forwards with including this strip of land, which is about 0.15 acres, to include it with the adjacent property, which they do own. So what I'm asking the council is to allow staff to move forwards with the process of abandoning the property. And then that way it can be purchased and included in the other property. But there are some requirements of that. And that's the last page here that we have to go through with our codes, which means basically they have to notify the property owner on the other adjacent side to let them know what's going on. And then also they have to get a certified appraisal of the value, so we can make sure that it's equal or greater than the property that we're abandoning. So I'm just looking to get acknowledgement of that. If we're good to do that, and I do think it's a good trade for the city, that we would move forward to the process. And then the next step would have them meet the code requirements. And then we bring an ordinance back and we close this out by ordinance.
Is there tax ramifications of this? Because if you're abandoning it, I mean, that's,
yeah.
Is this a taxable property?
It will be now. After it's abandoned and it's concluded with other property, that property will be taxed by as a piece of property.
The trade, make sure I'm understanding. The trade at equal value, but then we are subject to the tax. Well, we don't get taxed.
That's right. Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's right. And
so it's really the resort. The resort is assuming a tax liability.
Right. Yes, because they're taking that land, which is 0.15 acre, and then adding it to the other property. So that property will increase in value. For us, we'll get easements along that trail, which are exceed the value of
This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and will this pretty much complete the easements that we need, Jeff, to go to TxDOT?
No, there's a couple other private owners that we're working with to get easements on. I think there is a condo on the piece that goes to Lucy Lane that's in there. There's about a 40 or 50 foot strip through there. And then there is, then we're working with Escondido on the right of way that goes behind the market.
Okay. So just to be clear, do you want a motion from council that we authorize staff to move forward with this abandonment subject to the restrictions on this?
Yes, we'll bring it back, bring back an ordinance if y'all do motion to allow us to abandon it.
Okay. So would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll try. I move that we authorize staff to move forward with the abandonment according to the ordinances and work a trade out that has no downside for the city.
Greater or equal values.
Yeah, great property value.
Okay, so we have a motion that to authorize staff to move forward with the abandonment subject to the provisions of the subdivision ordinance that will provide for an easement trade with a greater or equal value to the value of this property.
Correct.
Is that okay? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Council Member Morgan. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Whoa, there's discussion.
So how many different owners abut the property? Just
One.
Okay. Because they have to have a written response from them prior to staff approval.
Right. Yeah, they have to meet the requirements of the code, and we have to,
But isn't that owner the resort?
No, there's
No.
one, the
One on-
resort owns one side and there's another, actually a
right.
house is on the property.
Right.
Yeah, so all we're doing is authorizing the staff to move forward. We're not adopting an ordinance yet. Okay,
You'll
any
come
other
back
questions?
with this, when this is finalized, you'll come back.
Yes,
And we'll have
yeah.
to do a motion then.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Right,
Y'all can
thank you.
move forward with that. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the consent agenda. You all got passed out, and I guess I'm going to pull two items from the consent agenda just so I can discuss them with you. I want to pull item D, approval of resolution 2025-08, amending personnel policy for flexible schedule. And I want to remove item E, approval of the extension of American Rescue Plan Act funds interlocal agreement with Llano County. Council, of the other three remaining items, is there anything you'd like to have removed from the consent agenda?
Just a question, why
Well, I'll tell you that after we.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I move that we approve as written.
Okay, so that would be with removal of item D and E.
Yes, okay, with the exception of item D. And E.
Okay.
I should-
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so let's go to D. The reason I pulled this is I just kind of wanted to give Rachel an opportunity to tell you about it. I just didn't want you to think we were trying to sneak something by on you. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hello, Council. So this policy that I'm recommending, it really helps the city hold accountability. So we, back in my presentation for the HR update that I did during the budget time, I wanted to highlight the importance of flexible schedules and remote work. The employment market right now, that is a major push that people are looking for when they're looking for employers. So for us to be able to recruit top talent and keep the good people that we have, we do have to try to be adaptable with the way the employment market is going. This policy allows us to hold people accountable in those flexible schedules. So it it gives us the authority to make sure that we are monitoring the way that they're doing their scheduling and just continue our quality of service for the city.
Okay. I have discussed this with Rachel and Jeff as well, because when they brought this to me, my initial response was, well, across the country, what I'm hearing is that people are going back to the workplace rather than remote working. But we've actually been doing this for 2 years. We've had a number of employees who've been working on flex schedules. And my concern was, look, we don't want to come up here on Friday and nobody works because everybody's on a 410 schedule. And Jeff has complete control over this, and all the directors, my understanding is, even if you call them on a day that they're not working, they'll still respond to you. The directors are pretty much always on call for us. And so I said, well, if this is something that you all want to try and you think is good for the staff and is good for the city, then let's give it a try. And understanding that I had some concerns about it, and Jeff and Rachel were supportive of that, and we'll see how it goes. And if it becomes disruptive to the workflow, Jeff will not. And Rachel won't continue it. So
I also, sorry, Mayor, I
Go
would like
ahead.
to reiterate too that this is not a policy that applies to all positions. So if you look at the outline of the policy, it does state that the supervisors have the ability to decide which positions this makes sense for. And then also Jeff would do the final approval on anything. So we are going to have checks and balances with what positions can do this. Obviously, first responders are not eligible. They're already on shift work, so that could be considered like a flexible type schedule, but that's a shift. So our intention is not at all to have everybody off on Friday and everybody off on Monday or anything like that. We just want to try to keep up with the way that the market is going and make sure that we're giving people work-life balance while maintaining the service that we want to provide.
Right. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions? No. Okay. Well, since I took that off, we need to vote on that separately, and that's on page 111, I think. It's on page 111. Yeah, it's on. There's a potential motion, council, on page 112.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Because I would like to make the motion, but is this something that's going to be rolled out to all existing employees as well? Hey, we got a new policy here. If you want to partake of it, talk to your supervisor, or is it going to be business as usual? And if they want to exercise this, then
So anyone that's on a remote or flexible schedule will have to fill out the form that's included, and it will have to be approved, even if they're currently on it. If we're seeing that it's working with everyone that's been in this trial, we have not had complaints about it. So those people would probably be approved. Anybody else that wants to try to request a different type of schedule would fill out the form as well. And then it would be up to the supervisor and all the signatures necessary, Jeff, to make sure that that person is eligible in their position.
Just understand, service is our business. So one thing that we know, and we'll pull it as quickly as we need to, if there's a drop in, say there's two people that are working and they're splitting their schedule, if that drops off, then that drops off for that person too. So is everything that goes through this, it's based on 100% service, but it does give the employees, especially some that don't live here, they have a day that they don't have to come in. So that saves some gas money and his ability to do that. But I've never had any problems calling any of them when they're off, especially directors. They know I can call them on a Saturday and Sunday if there's a situation that calls for that. And they all work more hours and work on the weekends when it's necessary.
I just didn't want to run on the bank when.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Well, and it was, we're in this pool of employees, our employment capacity that we have to keep up kind of with to be a competitive edge. But it's also been good for the employees. There's a lot of them that work in times where they can work 10 hours and they actually get more time done in that 10 hours than they do in an 8-hour break period. So it's worked, but we do monitor it very closely. Will.
The policy also states that everyone is subject to recall. So to kind of
absolutely.
answer your question, he or the supervisors can recall them, especially in emergency situations, but anytime it's in the policy.
And that was my concern, is, is it a plan that's going to be, I mean, it's etched in stone right now, that's the way it is, or is it's always like if a new person comes in and says, you know, we have a flex scheduling, you know, it's just to say that the trend goes back to, and I'm with Elsie, I read more deals about people coming back to the office.
Sure.
But what happens if you say, okay, we need to come back to the office? I guess I wanted to just make sure that the employees know
Yes.
that it's subject to recall at any time.
Yeah. It's in the policy, but it's also in the form when they sign off on it too, that says that they have to agree to that.
And I'm for flex. I think it's good, you know, but I just don't want, you know, just kind of give one quick example. You know, I had a boss one time to say, you know, that, okay, we're going to give a bonus, we're going to give a bonus, we're going to give a bonus. And then the company does bad, you don't get a bonus, and the employees are going, what's the deal? You know, and then they get mad because they don't get a bonus, and a bonus was just a bonus, you know. So
right.
I don't know if any of that made sense. But
No, it does. Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
It makes very good sense.
Okay.
And
What? Okay, Elaine?
One of the things that I'd like to just briefly share, and a lot of you know I'm here early in the mornings because I come out of Pick Rocks and I come by here first before I go home. And one of the things that I've encountered numerous times is when we're opening, especially like on Fridays in particular, I meet people out in the parking lot who have come in from out of town, and they've tried to hit that early spot so they can go back to where they are. They've tried to hit a late time. And making plans on how you want that to be adjusted for each person's need, please keep in mind that, you know, we are somewhat of a transit community in a lot of ways, and a lot of people come from all over the areas, Dallas, you know, Houston, and this is their rest place, and they will come early or stay over another night to be able to access and do business here.
Sure.
So that's something that I think, you know, we need to keep in mind, that we need to have someone here that needs to be open so they have access to take care of their personal business. We can't forget that.
And in fact, because of the 10-hour days, we have the ladies in front that are here after
Earlier
hours.
and after.
So, yeah, so that did allow us to expand our hours on those days. So they're here early, so we can accept those. And if we'll have a lot of people come up late, and we're open till 5:30.
So if someone coming in, even though they won't have access to the entire staff,
Right.
they can at least get into the front and leave a message, please contact me or do something to help me take care of my issues. So they're not just facing a locked door.
Right.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, well, that got a lot more discussion than I expected, so. Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion on Resolution 2025-08?
Make a motion that we approve. Resolution 2025-08.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Weatherby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Morgan. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, now the other one that I pulled was this thing that Carrie just handed out to you, the Llano County interlocal agreement related to distribution of certain American Rescue Plan funding. We really didn't need to pull this, except she handed this paper to you, and so I thought I might tell you why she handed it to you. This is the same $1 million that the Llano County gave us a year ago, and the agreement actually expired, and they just they forgot last month to put it on their agenda. They just signed it, and I just got it in this afternoon. So I don't really know that there's anything we need to do other than just reiterate thank you and adopt it. Is there, Molly?
Just the staff report had December 31st, and it's actually September 30th.
Mhm.
That
But
would be the only.
they've extended it to October 1st. It's in effect October 1, 2024, and it takes effect through September 30th, 2026. So we're using these funds, and really all we need to do is make the motion on page 118.
Have we submitted for this yet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
We've been constantly
we should get it
submitting.
this year then.
Yeah.
I think last month we submitted
Yes.
147,000, I think. Yeah,
And we've
so-
got several 100,000 still out
Oh,
there
yeah,
that.
yeah,
so
we're still
need-
working. Rio is clicking away and sending us invoices. They move forward. So
Okay, would someone like to make a motion? On page 118?
We have 118.
I'll make a motion that we approve whatever's on page
Ex-
118.
That's what I was going to say.
The
Approve the,
extension of the ARPA funds interlocal agreement with Llano County is presented by staff.
okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jones. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilmember Hosea. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we move to monthly reports. So,
yes, ma'am. I think Tim Fran was going to update us on the park and any road construction.
I'll give you a quick date, Mayor and Council. Can I put my glasses back on? The roads that were on the upgrade list that were completed in West now, we've moved up to the airport area, over towards Highlands area. So we have 7 done, 6 left to go. The parking lot improvements were completed this weekend by striping. So that parking lot here, the little interruption we had on Election Day, that's all complete now as well. The park is coming along nicely. We added a second slab to the pickleball area for another covered bench like we have on the other side. And we added a sidewalk down to the restroom area for the pickleball players as well. Irrigation is up and running. As soon as we get done with the grading and backfill, we'll order the sod. So the columns are completed. If you haven't noticed that, we haven't got it wired yet, but it's on the list. We're slowly making steady progress on all that. We also installed some chevrons on Apache Tiers by Quail to help with the nighttime directional visibility. We put some reflective chevrons on that pretty dark turn to help residents navigate through there. And also, lastly, excuse me, the shoulder stripe was put down on Bay West Boulevard as a little test area. We're seeing how that all goes, and we can make adjustments after we seal coat.
Okay.
That's it.
Did we decide on, is it 4.5 feet or 5 feet?
Right now, it's 5 foot to the outside of the paint to the inside of the curb. Again, we just put it there as a little test. If we decide to move forward with it and we have the ordinances in place and everything, we can go 6 foot to the outside of the paint to the inside of the curb, and that'll allow room for golf carts on it as well. If we decide we want to keep the golf carts off of that path, we'll leave it where it is.
I know this is just a test pattern here, but so far, I have just seen incredible change of
Speed.
behavior of the walkers, the bicyclists, the carts, and the motorists.
I agree 100% with you, sir, and the mayor, that it's slowing people down.
Yes.
Now there's something there that's a visual attraction to them. They're slowing down.
we have this recreational vehicle ordinance actually on the executive agenda. We're going to pull it and discuss it with the police chief here in just a few minutes. So yeah, thank you very much. And the park looks great, Tim.
Thank you, ma'am.
Really, really does look great. And I see people over there using the picnic tables. It's a nice improvement, and I'm sure that people appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just the highlights of what we've accomplished since last council meeting, but these are the bigger ones.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Tim?
Yeah, got the tractor yet?
I'm sorry?
Is the tractor here yet?
Absolutely not. They're saying now maybe March. We ordered that thing 7 months ago. It's ridiculous what this supply train has done.
Okay, any other department reports?
Okay, Carrie had his announcement she wants to do in the legislature session, and then I'm going to ask Ray, to speak on the incident in the water plant.
Right,
That's where
okay.
we are.
Just really quickly, I just found this out that in 2022, there were a record number of bills filed on the first day of filing, which is today this year. And that year it was 922, I believe it was. 1,511 bills have been filed today alone for the next legislative session. It's going to be very busy.
I hope most of them are about school vouchers and not city business.
I hope it's about internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a
I
lot
hope-
of it is internet.
Info on that. The conference recently for the organization that oversees that, there was a supportive response to it.
Right. I did not go to the Texas Coalition of Franchise Utilities annual conference. I was out of town, but the report back I got was that our legislative initiative to support the changes for the internet was
So they woke
well received. And next time, Carrie and I will present a resolution for council to pass, and then we'll ask the other cities to discuss that with their legislators.
Good, great. Thank you. Thank you, Frank, for bringing that up. Okay, any other staff?
Ray, I think he's
okay.
going to give us an update on the water plant, where we are.
Mayor, Council, right now, the plant is still operating at 100%. With the damage that occurred during the accident, we've been working with TML, insurance adjusters. We've also utilized some of our partners with Kingsland Water. We got a lot of parts from them. We were lucky in that regard, and Kingsland Water reached out and to us as well. So moving forward, we also submitted a emergency purchase form in accordance with emergency purchase policy to purchase any parts that we need immediately. So that's been in effect. We did not lose water pressure. We did not lose any water production either. So the plant, the staff was very effective in shutting down the plant. Our water treatment was not affected. The resiliency of our staff and again, their quick reaction to the accident, it paid just dividends for us, because those guys and gals were they were immediate, and it could have been much worse. So we continue to make repairs. We're not clearly out of the woods at this point, but I will say that I think we have made it over that hurdle, the first hurdle of emergency repairs. Like I said, we're still going through this. So as we are continue to produce water, we also find that there may be some other things that come up, that sneak up on us. But the last 2 weeks have been really arduous, and we think that we've made it over. I don't want to get too far off in that, because things went well this past weekend, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but they went very well. The guys got a reprieve and they got a break, so nobody had to come in this weekend. It was just their standard on call. With that said, we continue, like I said, the repairs to the system as we go along, and that's about all we have right now. Is there any questions I can answer?
Is the insurance company having any? This is pretty much an open and shut case. They recognize their liability.
Yeah, when their adjuster came in and met with the staff,
yes,
that was the first thing that he said. You know, we walked through the process, and he goes, "Well, the guy connected up. He was a hazmat driver, and so it was kind of that's their fault." And so we have been working with them ever since to get the plant materials and a cost together. And we're working with an engineering firm. I think today we had the plant, Paul people to come look at the all of the plant and make sure that we don't miss something that we should be missing. there. And so we'll get a lot of new parts in, fix the plant up. That'll take some time to get those in. But right now, like you said, those guys that have been working there, the first week, there was just nonstop work for them, almost every 24 hours. But as they kind of replace things, got the things going, revamp the GIS or the SCADA system, got everything up going, got all the alarms working. We haven't had any significant issues. And what's incredible out of this, with that plant being as damaged it was by the chlorine, is that we never lost production or pressure. So that's a real testament to the men on top of their toes, and getting the relationship we have with other communities around here that have the same plan. So this time we dodged a bullet, if you want to call it that. But we have made revisions into our policies. We're going to do such things as lockout that so it will never happen again. We're going to, I guess the other thing is operational test. The samples have a two-person authorization to where we'll never have a load come in where there's not double checks on it. So we kind of learned from this too, that this shouldn't have happened. The reason we had hypochlorite in there was because it was a reduced chlorine danger gas for the community by going from gas to liquid, but we never planned on having something like this happen. So we were going to make it to where it can't happen again in the future. So that, and then the other thing I wanted to let y'all know is that we're spending some money on this. So far, I think we're up to Molly, 400,000, I think is where we are. And do that, we have to let y'all know, part of our policy, let you know that we're doing this through emergency justification, and that so basically it says that we go get bids from the people we need to get stuff, and we don't get free bids on this. Most of this is proprietary stuff anyway, our air cards and things like that. But the generators and everything else, we're getting that done as fast as we can to ensure the dependability and water supply. But we have to let y'all know that we're kind of bypassing that purchasing policy to get this done.
Are all of those special expenditures included in your claim with the insurance company?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
That labor
Including
hours,
overtime for employees and.
yes. Yeah, that's, in fact, that 400,000 doesn't include the labor costs, but we're gathering that now, because over the last 2 weeks, you spent a lot of time on this, and then it's going to the agent, and then they'll subrogate with the cut trucking company, and we'll go.
And they're also looking at the loss of vegetation on private property as well as public property. So that may be a while before we know the full extent of that, because we don't know if those things will come back next spring.
Was hit right when the leaves were dying anyway, so it was really hard to tell. So we went out and Dan took a drone shot immediately after it, and a week later, and then we'll do it in another couple of weeks until the leaves are gone. And then when the springtime comes back, we're going to go back and look at that. We believe the trees are going to survive. Some of the soft vegetation on the entryways, we definitely think the ones closest to the plant probably got damaged, and so we're going to be looking at that. However, that probably is not going to be covered by the insurance, is what I understand now. But we'll still work with the POA to get that replaced, whatever that cost is, and then we'll go after the trucking company.
We also add an ignorance factor.
Pain and suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. It's bad. We had 6 employees go to the hospital, and all of them checked out fine after that. So we're lucky in that sense. It is a hazard that we have to work with, chlorine, and so it was a good stark reminder that stuff can happen. So we definitely don't want that to happen again. But we also had a couple of vehicles at the that were out there that people had to ban it and walk away from while the gas, and we see that this was $35,000 worth of damage that we're seeing in those vehicles.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jeff and Ray. And are there other staff reports that we need to hear from?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So before we move into executive session, our attorney tells me that we need to remove item 13B, recreational ordinance, vehicle ordinance from the executive session and discuss it in an open council meeting. I need a motion from a council member to remove item 13B from the executive session.
Make a motion, we remove item B in the executive session.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. And so Jason's going to talk about this. Tim highlighted it a little bit. And this doesn't meet we're not really getting advice from our attorney in executive session. So we wanted to bring this up and just give you a little bit of information about where we are on this. And Jason's the one to do that.
Mayor, Council, just a quick update. As Tim was saying, the stripe has been placed on Bay West Boulevard, which creates a shoulder along the roadway. Been receiving pretty good feedback from it. I know that some people don't even recognize that, a line has been painted on the ground, but this also gives us an opportunity to see how this works. And in the spring, after the seal coating, we can replace this shoulder and maybe even vary the width some. So it looks like right now we don't need to have an ordinance addressing this issue. State law covers it as part of rules of the road. So when we get a little bit closer to the shared use path, then we'll look at implementing some ordinances to cover some of those safety aspects for the path, which is down the road. So that gives us a little bit of time to prepare for that.
I've had several people thank me for the shoulder. They like walking. I was over there yesterday. There was a huge golf tournament, and I was driving down Bay West Boulevard, and there was just a line of golf carts coming up, following one golf cart, and they were all over. And they weren't, they were out into the street a little bit. They were definitely on the side of the street. So I think if we can get people accustomed to that. We'll see what happens. You all have any questions for Jason? No. Thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate it. Okay, so we will now move into executive session, and anything that would be voted on will come out of executive session and vote on it at the end of it. So unfortunately, you need to clear the room of those not participating in the executive session. Pursuant to Texas Government Code reference below, we will discuss the appointment of members to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustments under Personnel Matters 551.074. We will discuss items relating to the Fox House property with consultation with our city attorney under Section 551.071 and deliberations regarding real property under 551.072. And we'll talk about consultation with the city attorney regarding pending litigation, civil action number 1.1-21-CV-1156-RP Legacy Housing Corporation versus City of Horseshoe Bay Property Owners Association, Jaffe Interest, and Horseshoe Bay Resort and Horseshoe Bay, I guess that was all, in consultation with our attorney under 551.071.
And the time is?
And the time we will go into executive session is 5:23. And guys, let's